Thomas. It does get steeper at the top, but remember what he did on La Planche de Belleville when the gradients were up to 24%. Really interrupted. The altitude training camp snowed out. The crash in the Tour de Suisse today will give us a much better indication than yesterday did in the time trial. Sheltered, Julien Alaphilippe.
Also in that group, Jakob Fuglsang was there for this Dana team. He's got quite a few teammates around him. The white colours of UAE Emirates. Dan Martin is in the group. Rigoberto Urán is there. He has Bauke Mollema as Ali Gilbert is getting across to Roman Sicard. And he is at his limit. Off from the front of the peloton for the Movistar team. It's now Andre Amador who is setting the pace. Roman Sicard. Does Gilbert force the pressure or have a little bit of a rest? It's a little bit of a rest. He'll have a drink and then he needs to maintain this rhythm. Somehow. Easier said than done.
Because it's not quick enough, he needs to go straight past him, which he does.
Straight away. He's showing real maturity for a 24-year-old.
And looking straight away, it wasn't a look as if, say, are you coming with me? Am I dropping you already?
And he is. That is the answer. Not happy with the tempo. This has been impressive.
So Elie Gilbert, he's offloaded Kalmajan out of his wheel. He's ridden across to his teammate Sicard, and he's also got rid of him. And it's the young Frenchman from Arkea Samsic who now pushes on the lower slopes of the Tourmalet.
It's nice to be having this conversation about him as opposed to Gianni Moscon. Let's put that behind us as Ali Gilbert is applying the pressure at the front, hunting for a stage victory.
More riders out the back now. Lutsenko and Luis Leon Sanchez from Astana going out the back of the bunch. Their job is done for today. They've supported Jakob Fuglsang. This is Kalmajan. He's been swallowed up and spat out.
Back of the peloton, Mitchelton Scott out of the saddle. That looked like one of the Yates brothers.
It looked more like Adam's style than Simon's, but we didn't get a read of the number. And yeah, of course, being identical twins, it is somewhat difficult.
And Alejandro Valverde, Nairo Quintana. In that group, Mikel Landa. So well represented at the front, the Movistar team. 10% gradient.
This is Gilbert, the young French peloton. He's matching Andre Amador, pedal stroke for pedal stroke, but there's still more to come from Movistar. Marc Soler lining up behind, ready to do a turn of pace.
Behind Alaphilippe is his teammate in white, and that is the best young rider, Enric Mas, the facial expression of Egan Bernal.
Baring the teeth. Dan Martin gone once and returned. Now it's gone twice. I don't see him coming back again. In sweat to a very, very warm day out there as well. The Spaniards, they'll be loving it. Maybe the Welshmen less so.
Yellow everywhere. But it's a man in white for Arkea Samsic. The smallest or the second smallest budget in the race, Arkea Samsic, behind Wanty Group Goubert. And their 24-year-old French climber, Ali Gilbert, is the man who was leading the charge up one of the most famous climbs in the history of the Tour. The 83rd time onto the Col de Tourmalet. First scaled in 1910 in this race. Still Movistar, still Amador. As Bauke Mollema somehow has made his way to the front of that group. He's been yo-yoing on and off the back. He's towed Richie Porte around. He's been there to support him. Bauke Mollema is doing an outstanding job.
Well, Porte back towards the back of the group again. So Mollema, he brought Porte up towards the front, right up to the wheel of Julien Alaphilippe. Since dropped further back.
This is Mollema with the yellow helmet on and the white and red colours. Trek Segafredo leading the team's classification. EF in the pink colours, Education First. They have Rigoberto Urán and Tanel Gangout in that group.
Really a game effort by Elie Gilbert, riding against the same man over the last 10 or 12 kilometres now. Andre Amador. Only 11 kilometres to go. There's been a super effort by the Costa Rican on the front of the peloton, still with Soler, Valverde, Landa and Quintana to come.
Right into instruction at the front, Andre Amador. Access to the Pic de Midi, the observation tower that we saw some footages of a little earlier. Number 91, Rigoberto Urán, hard to read the body language, often sits towards the back, rode well on the time trial yesterday.
Yet some riders prefer to just drift through the group, not hold one position, but go with how the legs feel. Castroviejo, he's dropped. He'll switch things off and just roll his way up to the top.
No benefit in Castroviejo trying to limit the damage. He needs to actually save the energy for the next day, as you alluded to moments ago.
At Team Ineos, they don't think about it as the individual's energy reserve. It's the team's energy reserve, and you're a part of that machine. It's done for Amador. Huge job by number 63, the Costa Rican.
That was impressive. That is what a domestic does when they empty the tank. He has come to a grinding halt. Bilbao now number 72 for Astana. He is really suffering.
Well, now Marc Soler will have gone to the front of the group for Movistar. Richie Porte starts to move up because it's becoming more urgent, more important to sit forward. Riders are now starting to be offloaded. Balcamola going back as well. Nairo Quintana now a long way in the back of the group.
And a long way forward in the saddle, which is always a sign of suffering. Number 12 is Emmanuel Buchmann. He's in 6th place overall. 91 is Rigoberto Urán, the French champion who says he wants to be a car salesman. Warren Barguil is at the front. Don't worry about selling cars. Worry about winning bike races. You're one of the best in the world. The peace and quiet, the tranquility at the top. Ali Gisbert about to be caught, but this is deserving of the red number for the most combative. He should get a spot on the podium.
It's been a great ride by Gilbert. Richie Porte again, another acceleration. So just hopping around riders who are starting to be distanced.
This is Roman Kreuziger, the best placed overall for Dimension Data. Started the day in 19th. He fights on. He will fight all the way to the finish to limit the damage.
Aru now also being dropped. No surprise, it's the start of a big comeback.
Quintana is being dropped. Movistar doing all the work at the front, and Nairo Quintana is being dropped.
Well, this is now a huge surprise.
Now it's all for Mikel Landa. Number 8, that is Dylan van Baarle. It's been extraordinary for the Dutchman to survive this long. He's a specialist for the classics such as the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix.
Well, after Quintana, the next is Alejandro Valverde, but he is the man at the front of the group.
It's for Landa. This is for Mikel Landa, who is 3rd in line for Movistar. It's Soler, Valverde, the world champion, then Mikel Landa.
So maybe those injuries for Quintana are much worse than we thought. He said, don't make a big deal of it. It'll only make the people at home worry. Well, they are obviously affecting him because he's going out the back and his team is continuing to drive it at the front.
And there he is. Nairo Quintana is all on his own. And the composure of the yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe looks as comfortable as anybody in that leading group.
You can hide for a little while in the Tour de France. You can bluff it for a bit. When you get in the high mountains like this, eventually the truth comes out. And I think now we're discovering the extent of the injury to Nairo Quintana from that crash a couple of days ago.
He looked so good in the first week. He looked good on stage 6 of La Planche de Belleville. Twice second, once third. The podium will...
But hurting on the inside, Nairo Quintana.
The telltale sign is how far forward he was in the saddle when we looked at him at the back of the group. And over the shoulder, this is Marc Soler
trying to salvage it for Quintana, sending Soler back. In the meanwhile, it was Valverde on the front.
Soler.
Do they now stop riding at the front? Soler's gone back for Quintana. He's got him. Aru is there behind him. Dylan van Baarle is the man in front of Marc Soler. That's the gap to the main group. And now there's Ineos who've taken over the pacemaking. So Movistar, so aggressive, been on the front for most of the stage.
Barguil now attacks the French national champion. Says he wants to be a car salesman. Well, see if he can buy a pair of these wheels. Can they track him down? 6 minutes 39 seconds
problem
behind.
For Barguil. He stopped pedalling. Chain mechanical. He's got it back on.
Perhaps he was going to the big chain ring.
Whatever he was doing, he flipped the chain off.
but he stayed calm. Richie Port and Volker Mollema at the back of this group for Trek Segafredo.
Now it's Walt Pools.
Lawrence de Plus is here for Jumbo-Visma, and in second position for Jumbo-Visma is George Bennett.
A lot of talking within Team Ineos. Here's the attack back of the group. So he starts his attack from 30 metres behind the lead of the group.
He's found his rhythm now, Warren Barguil. Arkea Samsung.
They are riding a great stage.
Do they really need to hire Nairo Quintana? That's the rumour that Quintana is going across next year. This group has really slowed down as Dylan van Baarle has recaught them.
That was the talking we saw from Ineos. We saw Egan Bernal on the radio. Thomas behind him looking like he was suffering. The pace was being set by Walt Pools. Now they've eased off. Van Baarle comes back to the front. In control at the moment with just Barguil off the front.
Warren Barguil. He gets the support even by the Basque spectators. He starts the day 6:39 down in the overall classification. But at what point does Geraint Thomas and Team Ineos start to worry about the yellow jersey, about Julian Alaphilippe, who leads by 1 minute and 26 seconds? And Walt Pools perhaps is asking exactly the same question of Geraint Thomas. They're in deep conversation. Number 71, Jakob Fuglsang. He said yesterday for the first time, stepping onto the team bus, he didn't feel his knee from the crash on stage 1.
Time performer Barguil, and with 8 kilometres to go, a 12-second gap. None of the big favourites have made a move as yet, so I'm not going to call him as a possible stage winner at this moment, but a great ride by Arkea Samsic. We've seen Gilbert, we've seen riders in the break, and now their team leader off the front at the hottest point of the race so far.
Can we go possible with a hesitation? Because he is making the race, and that is the destination. The mythical Col de Tourmalet.
That is the top of the climb, and look at the fans on the hillside. They are up here in their thousands lining the roads.
What a
here
stadium.
in the Pyrenees.
And it's been closed for a long time. Look at how far down those camper vans are. You're making your way up on foot. The man affectionately known as Wawa is wowing the French public. 15 seconds. I'm hearing you about the fact that the big favourites, they haven't accelerated yet. There's still 7.7 kilometres to go, but this is the best he's looked in 2 years by a long shot.
Oh, most definitely. That's an easy one to pick. It's the best he's been in a long time. Team Ineos taking responsibility. And are they lulling the rest of the favourites into a false sense of security? Maybe they're just trying to go a little bit slower at a pace that suits a Thomas that's possibly suffering. He wants to win on the Tourmalet. He's talked the talk, and Pinot goes to the front. It's David Gaudu away from Ineos. We see it often, the acceleration. It's not followed by the British team, and they try to wind it back in. But with a man in form like Thibaut Pinot, can they do it? It's panic stations a little bit behind. Jakob Fuglsang reacts.
So too does Mikel Landa from Movistar.
And Alejandro Valverde, he follows the wheel. The riders from Jumbo-Visma, Steven Kruijswijk, and not a move yet by Ineos. They are sensing a weakness.
At the back, 25, the white jersey. That is Enric Mas. 136 with the yellow number on. That is Volker Mollema. Well, Poles is still in this group. De Plus, Kruijswijk and Bennett for Jumbo-Visma. Kruijswijk is looking really dangerous for yellow. Richie Port is still in that group. He slots himself in behind the white jersey of Enric Mas. But the gap is starting to open for Mas behind the yellow of Alaphilippe. Gaudu, the 22-year-old of French cycling, setting the tempo. This is Kangert now being dropped in pink.
Volker Mollema struggling at the back. Richie Port looking over his shoulder, seeing how much room he's got to drift when the pace comes on. Barguil still punching it out, 18 seconds in front.
Hasn't lost any real time though. It's been an acceleration, but not any significant time loss for Warren Barguil. This is Mollema, the Dutchman, third in the 2011 Volta a España.
In front of him, last man on the group now is Richie Port. Mollema struggles his way back into the wheels.
He's a picture of suffering, Volker Mollema, and he knows how to go deep. This is good, though, followed by Pinot. It's then full sung. Movistar with Lander. For the first time this morning, we heard Thibaut Pinot talking up the fight.
Looking at the faces, the two that look the most comfortable in the group were the Frenchmen on the front, Gaudu and Pinot.
Volker Mollema still fighting, still clawing his way back. One pedal stroke at a time. Richie Porter's at the rear of the group.
Barguil takes another second on the chasers.
3 riders remaining. Number 1, you can see the hips from number 1, Geraint Thomas. They were starting to rock and roll.
Usually so solid in the seat, Geraint Thomas. Now a bit of movement, rocking and rolling. Quintana, he's being further distanced. He is now 36 seconds behind the group of the Maillot Jaune.
They're those little signs, sitting forward in the saddle. The hips rocking and rolling forward a bit more. A bigger gear than normal as opposed to the souplesse of a high pedaling cadence. Geraint Thomas looks to be under a little pressure.
Warren Barguil holding more or less steady, 17 seconds. And we've spoken so much about it, about the defending champion of the Tour, Geraint Thomas. He may get found out the lack of preparation, and it was going to take a long time in this Tour to get to that point. This is the first proper big mountain.
Here are the gaps on the road. The far right, Yates a long way behind. Then it's Quintana. He's at 300 metres behind the yellow jersey group. And then out in front on his own to the tune of 15 seconds is Warren Barguil. Fernando Quintana, he's 29 years of age, but it feels like his best is behind him. He hasn't been anywhere near it for the last 2 years by comparison to our expectations of him. He's won the Giro, he's won the Vuelta.
And we just can't know the effect that that crash on stage 11 has had on him, whether he had it in him coming into this Tour or not, and it's so hard to get a read on narrow Quintana.
We'll never know the answer to that question, the size of the impact of that crash.
12 seconds now for Warren Barguil. David Gaudu, he is making inroads on the lead, down to 10 seconds. Thibaut Pinot, he's got his heart set on this one. He's ridden this climb so many times. You spoke about his fastest time up there, and we talk sometimes about Strava records. His best time is 10 seconds inside the Strava record. Barguil, he sees that he seemed to ease off.
He knows he's about to be caught, so he's riding smartly. He's saving something for the next attack. That's clever by Warren Barguil. This is not Barguil, full stick, trying to fend them off. The yellow jersey is still there, Julien Alaphilippe. He dares to dream, so too do the French. They want him to believe. And at number 1, Geraint Thomas is a long way back in that group.
Suffering or bluffing?
Give me 5.7 kilometres and I'll tell you the answer. That's the beauty of the Tour this year. It is wide open. Gaudu, he ups the tempo. They see the capture and they see the gap starting to open up behind. The young Frenchman is applying pressure.
Barguil, he's slotted back in fifth wheel, just ahead of the 3 riders from Jumbo-Visma. There goes one overboard for Ineos. That's
and Richie Porte is also overboard. He was good yesterday against the clock. Porte is now really suffering. 15th overall at 4:44. He might still improve his position overall today, but this is difficult. Enric Mas is the next.
Enric Mas, he was the GC hope for De Koning Quickstep coming into the Tour de France, but it's Julien Alaphilippe in the yellow jersey who is still holding strong in the group just ahead of him. Oh, the teeth starting to come out from Thibaut Pinot. Jakob Fuglsang, he is cruising near the front and looking good. Julien Alaphilippe out of the saddle, dancing on those pedals like he always does. I'm tipping him to hold yellow.
He's starting to become a big contender. Wout Poels is at the back of the group. He latches on with the world champion, Alejandro Valverde. Egan Bernal and Geraint Thomas still in this group for Ineos.
Alaphilippe tracking Team Ineos. He almost hasn't left the wheel of Geraint Thomas. Valverde now at the back of the group. This is Poels. His job is done.
Not much left for him to do. Walpole's is now being distanced. I don't think he'll come back a second time.
He's gone for...
He took a long-range attack to Alpe d'Huez. We're seeing the suffering now of Julian Alaphilippe. He is digging deeper into the barrel. There can't be much left in the tank, can there, with all the race? And they've raced for more than 2,000 kilometres already.
But you know, it's hard to tell with Julian Alaphilippe if it's suffering or selling the show. Buy a ticket and get on board with Julian Alaphilippe. It's always spectacular. And look at how small the group is, and he's still there. Never been in this position before in a Grand Tour.
Whichever it is, I'm buying 2 tickets and I'm bringing in a guest front seat to watch Julian Alaphilippe.
Thomas makes a move up the inside, improving his position in the red, up and around the riders of Jumbo-Visma.
Just to remind everybody, he's still there. And he is. He slots himself alongside Jakob Fuglsang. Bernal comes with him.
Little flatter section, so taking advantage of just flattening out. Gain a bit of momentum, ride your way around the group, find some shelter from the wind as well, because there's a few little turns where the breeze will hit them. Anything is enough.
Valverde still suffering at the back, the world champion. The yellow jersey, Alaphilippe, he sits behind the French champion, Barguil. In front of Barguil, it's Emmanuel Bookman. Then the pink colours of EF Rigoberto Urán. 3 there for Jumbo-Visma, Kruijswijk, De Plus and Bennett. Mikel Landa is here for Movistar in 4th position. Jakob Fuglsang sits in 3rd spot. At the front is David Gaudu, followed by his team leader, Thibaut Pinot. 27 seconds back to Enric Mas, and that is in the vicinity of Richie Porte.
Well, Richie Porte had vowed to start going on the attack, trying to get back some time. It's not working out so far for him today. Gaudu, he goes again. The young Frenchman, 22 years old. He'd been riding on the front, setting the tempo for Thibaut Pinot, and now he is on the attack, looking for the stage win.
His role is as the pacemaker. He's more than the pacemaker. He is charging up this climb. The reaction now coming from George Bennett. He tries to chase.
Jumbo-Visma coming to the front. Egan Bernal moving around now onto the wheel of the men in black and yellow.
But with that acceleration, as Warren Barguil has been dropped, Geraint Thomas slipped to the rear of the group.
Well, there'll be directors sportifs, they'll be sitting in the cars, they'll be watching a broadcast and deciding their tactics on what they see in the rest of the group. They'll be really paying attention to Thomas slipping back. Alaphilippe, he just continues to surprise. Rigoberto Urán on the right, number 91. Still right in this for a stage win, the Colombian.
He is. He hasn't put his nose in the wind yet.
They're coming back to Gaudu.
They are.
Alaphilippe, he stays with Thomas. Wherever he's been, Alaphilippe has followed.
And now David Gaudu has been reeled back in, and it's Laurens De Plus who has done the job.
De Plus, Bennett, Steven Kruijswijk, Emmanuel Bookman, number 12 up the front for Bora, also riding a fantastic stage. Landa is next to him. Gaudu, he now goes backwards. That was it. Maybe it was asked of him to go on the attack. Do everything you can for Thibaut Pinot.
Pinot was putting his hand in the pocket to get a bite to eat. David, the great pacemaker. Fantastic performance by David Gaudu. Barguil now fighting for survival. He's getting his way towards the top 10 overall as the yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe, is still here.
Fuglsang now to the back of the group. He'd been riding comfortably in around 3rd wheel for most of the climb. Now he slid backwards. Nairo Quintana, he is 1 minute 50 now behind the front of the race. A big loss for the Colombian.
And Porte and Enric Mas at 42 seconds behind. Jumbo-Visma, the man on the front, is their new recruit this season. That is Laurens De Plus. He's the best Belgian climber of his generation.
They've won the team's time trial. They've won a stage with Teunissen, stage with Van Aert, stage with Groenewegen, and the climbers are now getting their chance to represent. They have been the team of the Tour. And Steven Kruijswijk, 3rd overall coming into the stage. He will also be dreaming of yellow. But at the moment, it's the man pulling faces who's wearing it, and they're not getting rid of him.
The world champion, though, they they have managed to cause a gap to Alejandro Valverde. It's extraordinary at 39 years of age that he is still here and he's still a factor. Lawrence de Plus applying the pressure. Bennett looks so comfortable. He was dragged to the tour for this reason. And speaking of dragging his way back, it's Warren Barguil. The French champion is on a good one.
Julien Alaphilippe, a sideways look at Barguil. Alaphilippe, he's bobbing up and down and still in the wheel of Thomas and still hanging on the back of this group. It only gets harder towards the top. The altitude increases and so does the gradient.
And at the moment, it's Jumbo-Visma riding with confidence. Tête de la course with Kruijswijk and his teammates. It's then the Port group, along with Enric Mas. They're at 43 seconds. Next in line is Nairo Quintana. Yates is a long way behind, and Bardet is well and truly gone.
This is now the steep section of the climb that they are on. 3 kilometres to go. It kicks up. Average gradient over this kilometre, 11%.
That is brutal. And the altitude starts to touch on almost 2,000 metres. Valverde. This is de Plus, followed by Bennett. Then it's Kruijswijk. The human coat hanger still looks good.
Look at the face of Kruijswijk. Relaxed, controlled. Bookman still looking good at the front of the group as well. Vogelsang here, number 71 at the back, just in front of the French champion Barguil. Yellow jersey glued to the wheel of Thomas. Now it's George Bennett. De Plus is done.
Bennett checks across the shoulder. Great job by de Plus. Bennett ups the tempo. You can see the way the group thins out a little. Congratulations, 83. Switch off. Save your legs for tomorrow because your team leader is on a good one. He sits in second. It's Steven Kruijswijk.
It's George Bennett, the Kiwi. He ups the tempo. Steven Kruijswijk.
He said
faster, George. Faster. Wind it up. I've got more.
The yellow jersey is riding a huge gear. He's muscling his way to the top of the climb.
He is doing an exceptional job, Julien Alaphilippe, and as always, flicking the legs, trying to shake the lactic acid out of those quadriceps. Alejandro Valverde, he's dropped further back. His teammate Nairo Quintana, no longer a factor either. It's at the front of the race, and it's Jumbo-Visma putting the pressure on, and the yellow jersey will not let go.
And he will be in yellow tonight. He is not losing a minute and 26 seconds in the last 2.3 kilometres.
I'm going to hold off on agreeing just yet. It is brutal towards the top. Really, the steepest sections coming up towards the finish line. We're hitting the altitudes, and when you suddenly pop, you go bang.
Well, his buffer to Steven Kruijswijk, who sits in second spot, is 2 minutes and 12 seconds. His advantage over the defending champion, second overall, is 1:26. To Geraint Thomas, the stringing out, the pressure of Bennett.
Bennett's now got them single file. We saw Kruijswijk ask him to go faster. That is just begging for an attack to come from the Dutchman, from Jumbo-Visma.
Well, the Kiwis, they're famous for their climbers, most significantly Sir Edmund Hillary. They've got a good one again, and this time it's Bennett, who loves the high mountains.
11 men remain in the front of the race. 2 from Jumbo-Visma, 2 from Ineos, and the rest are on their own.
Bennett, Kruijswijk, then Lander. Next in line is Bookman, followed by Bernal, then Thomas. Another move coming around the outside. It's Thibaut Pinot. His teammates have done some work. It's just to get to the front. That's to move around traffic. There he is, a little grimace. That was hard just to get alongside Kruijswijk.
This is shaping up to be a group sprint at the top of the Col de Tourmalet. It stands at 2,115 metres above sea level. This short stage, it has delivered the biggest punch, and now it's Barguil going at the back. And Vogelsang!
Jakob Fuglsang paying the price for the crash on stage 1. Now the move is coming from Lander. Bennett was called off the front by Kruijswijk, or was he? No, Kruijswijk sending Bennett to the front once again.
He doesn't want the pace to drop. There were riders coming around. Once they got to the front, they were backing it off. That's the tactic. Get around and try and slow it down so I don't get dropped. Fuglsang, no good looking over the shoulder. The answer's not there. And Uran.
Rigoberto Uran in pink. The Colombian continues to fight. The pace, does it back off ever so slightly and give him a chance? clear the road. The Colombians are shouting.
Nobody wants to sit in a single file line and give away metres. The crowd, they need to back off. And from 11, there's now 8.
Bernal is still here, so the Colombians still have hope on Independence Day. Bennett, Kruiswijk, Lander, Bookman, isn't he riding well? The yellow jersey, Julian Alaphilippe, is the story of 2019.
The crowd is in a frenzy. There's a Frenchman in yellow, and he's holding strong with the best GC riders in the world. Bookman goes to the front.
Bernal responds. Then it's Thibaut Pinot. Egan Bernal responding as Geraint Thomas's teammate is suffering. Bennett takes up the chase.
The German climber from Bora Hansgrohe and Geraint Thomas. There's a gap. Thomas is being dropped.
We await the arrival of the defending champion. First in before him, though, will be Rigoberto Urán, as Thomas has almost collapsed. Urán at 30 seconds. Thomas, he could be caught by Barguil, not quite. 36 seconds. 36 seconds, the deficit for the defending champion. Celebration. An emotional day for Thibaut Pinot.
They put some cards on the table early, FDJ. They joined the chase early on the stage, believing in Thibaut Pinot. But Julian Alaphilippe, and after yesterday, surely the French journalists are out of superlatives. They're going to have to make up words for this one. Pinot and Alaphilippe, 1-2 on the Tourmalet, not only defending yellow, but opening the gap.
We know what's going to be on the front and the back pages of all the papers in France tomorrow. It will be French success, the stage, and yellow. 1985 was a long, long time ago. Now we have Frenchmen at the top.
Renaissance.
We say so. Led by Alaphilippe, followed by Thibaut Pinot. Oh, the extraordinary results for Thibaut Pinot, winning stages at the Tour de France. He's won at the top of Alpe d'Huez, as he referred to, also here now at the Col de Tourmalet. It was a dramatic day, surrounded by the best climbers in the world on one of the most iconic climbs. And as he said at the end, this tour is not over. There is a long way to go. He's made up a little bit of time overall. He started at 3 minutes and 22 seconds behind Julian Alaphilippe, but he's also gained time on the likes of Geraint Thomas, and his confidence will be building. Thibaut Pinot knows he can go the distance. Arguably the best victory of his career because of the challenges that he's had over the last couple of seasons to come back from those, and he's won with the pressure of expectation, and he concedes he doesn't enjoy that.
So I'll go with, not arguably, just the best victory of his career. That was incredible.
He's had some big ones.
Look at the fight here behind. The fight against themselves as much as each other.
The celebration for Pinot, 6 seconds the gap. Emmanuel is still very much a factor for that team, and he's the best placed overall for them in second position in the general classification. But once again, it was Thibaut Pinot who won. They can be really happy. You think he can hold on to the jersey tomorrow? I tend to agree. Then there's the rest day, then a flat stage to Nîmes, then a long day to Gap, and then 3 days in the Alps, and his buffer is 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Unsung hero of the day, David Gaudu, for the work that he did for Thibaut Pinot, and Emmanuel Bookman. Emmanuel Bookman, his ride to finish 4th on the stage and move himself in a 5th position overall. We celebrated the performance of David Gaudu throughout the stage, but not enough about the ride by Emmanuel Bookman. Unsung heroes.
Yes, we did sing the praises of Gaudu quite a lot, and it was a very good ride, but I lean towards Bookman.
So you're going
with
Bookman.
The honour. Yep.
Review of the photo, you're going with Emmanuel Bookman for the unsung hero.
Yep. Photo finish, and he got it by 4 centimetres.
Bike IQ move of the day as we look at the Église of Saint-Louis. And this one goes right back to the 12th century and was made of granite when the first stones were laid. And it's been listed as a historical monument since 1910. Nice views overlooking the valley. Bike IQ move of the day. Vincenzo Nibali was in the breakaway. As soon as it was clear that that breakaway was doomed, he sat up and rode really conservatively. And further evidence of that smart move by Vincenzo Nibali. He's in a potential stage-winning break today.
No surprise, Vincenzo Nibali, he is one of, if not the smartest bike rider in the peloton.
Some speeds on the descent. The top speed of Michael Matthews, 85.1 kilometres per hour. He took some risks to close down that gap.
That was chasing that front group. So Matthews and the small group he was in, they needed to take the risks off the top through the KOM, in the fog, through the cloud, and to close that gap.
So you agree with the IQ move by Nibali from yesterday?
100%.
Excellent. So George Bennett at the top of the media medal. This is Rigoberto Urán, 7th overall at 4 minutes and 24 seconds behind. He is still really dangerous in this race, Rigoberto Urán. A sense of calm has returned to the back of the peloton. This breakaway group, they're underneath the kite, 1 kilometre to go to the intermediate sprint.
And Matthews tracking everything. For a man who said, I've given up on green, well, he's been tracking everything. He goes again.
This is Caruso. And Matthews wants a piece of the action. Matthews is currently 4th in this classification. If he wins here, he moves up to 3rd place ahead of Elia Viviani. But he's looking across the shoulder and he's spending a lot of energy. Niels Pollitt is the rider that is behind him.
Then there's a gap behind that. So Matthews will be hoping that he'll get an easier ride through to the line, that Pollitt won't go and challenge him. Pollitt's managed to ride the slipstream of Matthews across this gap. 3 of them off the front. I'm surprised to see such a battle for it by riders who don't have any points in the green jersey competition as yet.
Matthews now stays in the slipstream. Niels Pollitt is getting the jump on him. Wrong shoulder for Michael Matthews, but he's got the speed to get the better of Niels Pollitt, and he collects 20 points.
He worked hard for that one, Michael Matthews. And this is where and why I'm disappointed that Michael Matthews gave up the fight for green. We've seen them in the past. It's been often Chris Froome will choose one stage where he gives it absolutely everything, opens up a big gap on the rest, also will give them a good clip over their ear in the time trial. But in the other stages, it's a lot more controlled, only accelerating in the final few hundred metres quite often to take a few seconds here and there, but just to defend the lead ride fairly conservatively. Now they're behind in the stages, ticking away one by one. They are going to have to come up with a different style of racing if they're going to unseat Julien Alaphilippe. And at the moment, although there was all this early aggression, it's looking good for Julien Alaphilippe. He has not been isolated. Credit to his team for staying in the group for some of them, chasing back on for others. They're doing the job.
This lead group now has split through that intermediate sprint. This is Marc Soler now at the front. He's followed by Bilbao from Astana. It's a handy little sprint. That is Julien Bernard just behind him from Trek Segafredo.
2 Movistar riders in the group. Amador was the man at the back of the group. Nairo Quintana, he is back in the main group of that breakaway. Nibali. As we take a nice flyover in Tarascon-sur-Ariège.
Pretty little town. We just went over the Tower of Castella just a moment ago. The church of Notre Dame de Seba is the church that we just had a brief look at. They're doing a very good job, the De Koning Quick-Step team, containing that breakaway. It's hasn't been much more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds their advantage. This is at the back of the breakaway group as they come into the feed zone. And this is the little split that has gone off the front from that group. And Julian Bernard from Trek Segafredo is pretty keen to press on. Through the feed is a good opportunity because there'll be a few riders taking it slightly easier back in that bigger portion of the breakaway. And they've already gained 250 metres.
Oh, you've got to pay attention everywhere, and the smartest riders, they track the move through the intermediate sprint, road in the wheels, no sprints, but just follow the speed as much as possible, and then go on with it. Pello Bilbao, he's also made it in here.
Matthews in the red colours, Bilbao just behind him. Pollard is there for Katusha. Caruso is also that. Galopin, the two riders from Movistar at the back. Amador is the number 63. With him is Marc Soler. The rider that has worked his way up into third position overall is the Dutchman Steven Kruijswijk from from Jumbo-Visma. And we caught up with Steven Kruijswijk before today's stage got started. Here he is now.
Yeah, I think we surprised a lot of people that we were still there with three of us in the final, and yeah, that's the way we wanted it. And the guys did a great job putting towards the end for me. And yeah, unfortunately, I could not finish for the stage win, but I think we did a good stage for the GC.
Yeah, you're right up there, the GC, and a possibility to actually win the Tour de France.
We see until now Alaphilippe is really strong, and I don't see him crack that easily, and we have to keep fighting. It's a long way to go, and yeah, we have to take it day by day.
He hasn't done any of the pacemaking in that breakaway, Dan Martin. He's the only rider from UAE Emirates in that move. In some respects, that can be a slight advantage. All the other teams have got multiple riders in this breakaway, but Dan Martin is there on his own. So too is Simon Yates, actually. But they can look to other teams to do any of the chasing if there is a split in that group, and wait until it's crunch time before they really need to put themselves at the front.
Well, you know, Matt, the good thing about this course and about the profile, you saw it there on the bottom right of screen, is that the climbs are all fairly close to each other. So it's either up or it's down. There's not much valley road at all. Just a little section towards the foot of the final climb of the Prat d'Albi. I think no more than a 8-kilometre section that could require any chasing if there's a split.
Niels Pollard out in front. Reaction coming pretty quickly from the man in the yellow helmet, that is Marc Soler. The group is really disorganised, even though they're out to 3:37.
So Pollard just trying to keep things going on behalf of Ilnur Zakarin, get the biggest gap possible. That's really all that Pollard can do from now on, is just try and open up the gap. He can't be of assistance on these Category 1 climbs to his teammates. So this is the best thing he can do, is keep the pace on. He's drawing reactions from behind. Nico Roach says, well, I better go across to that one just in case.
Also, Simon Geschke from CCC making sure that he stays on the wheel. He's a powerhouse on the flat, Niels Pollard.
So even though nobody's in his wheel, it's encouraging the others to swap off behind him, not let somebody go. Just keeps the momentum going in the group. And you see all the reactions coming now. More and more riders have gone across to that second group. And a little bit of panic starts to set in. Then someone jumps.
And the primary reason Niels Pollard is doing this is because his teammate Ilnur Zakarin is in that breakaway. He's a great climber, Ilnur Zakarin. He's been third in the Volta a España, stage winner this year in the Giro d'Italia. Simon Yates is chasing.
But Zakarin is not in this second group, so Pollard is also looking back to see where he is. Here he is in that third group towards the front of it, just behind Vincenzo Nibali. So Pollard has caused this split by reactions behind him, and his teammate he's trying to ride for at the moment is in the last group of the four, but it's all starting to close back up again. And that is what awaits the riders up the valley. They are approaching the foot of the first Category 1 climb of the day. That was a couple of years ago into Foix. We will ride through today, and instead of the finish line being down in the town itself, it is high above on the Prat d'Albi, a Category 1 climb. back then. Just great to see that footage again of Warren Barguil and his entry into that final corner, just carrying way more corner speed, a much faster line, already standing up and on the pedals while the others were still trying to corner further to the inside. Perfect execution. By the time they knew what was going on, he was gone and the stage win was in. He would go on to win on the Col d'Izoard and sew up the polka dot jersey of 2017 as well. And this year, after a very lean and inconspicuous 2018, Warren Barguil is back on the attack yesterday on the Tourmalet and backing up a great effort by their whole team, in fact, of Arkea Samsic. Elie Gilbert was off the front earlier on. When he was caught, it was Barguil who went on the attack. And no, it wasn't a stage-winning move, but it was a good attempt and will be a real confidence booster for the Frenchman, really signalling his return this season with his win in the French Championship. Back up to the break, and it looks like we still have a split. There is still a large group in front.
And just again on Warren Barguil, I wonder how he feels about all the rumours of the arrival at his team of Nairo Quintana. There's 15 riders out in front, leaving 21 to do the chasing. Team's classification currently being led by Movistar, 11 minutes and 5 seconds ahead of Trek Segafredo. This is Vincenzo Nibali, number 41. The climber's about to start.
So any of those riders in that second group, the good climbers who have missed out on their split, well, they do have the chance early on the early slopes of this climb to get themselves back across, but give themselves a lot of work to do. The likes up here of Pio Bilbao, Nicola Roche, Reichenbach. This is the second group, just with Dan Martin at the front, Ilnur Zakarin. We saw it was his teammate pushing the pace on for Ilnur Zakarin to try and open up the gap. It's caused a split, and he's missed it.
11.4 kilometres worth of climbing. This is at the back of the group, number 63, that is Andre Amador. 136 is the bobbing, ducking and weaving Bauke Mollema. 41, Vincenzo Nibali. 156, that is Pierre-Luc Perichon from Cofidis. Peloton still being led by De Koenig Quickstep. And Mollema, third in the Volta a España in 2011. He is now being dropped. And he started the day 15th overall at just 9 minutes and 3 seconds down. He's got Ilnur Zakarin with him. That's disappointing for Katusha Alpecin. That's the rider that Niels Pollitt was working for. Another rider from Fatigue from the Giro d'Italia, where he finished in 10th place.
Well, at the moment, Zakarin is about the same distance behind the front group that he was at the foot, but other riders are moving away and going across. This is Tim Wellens. Well, he's done what he could today. He did a good job yesterday, collecting maximum points on the Category 1 climb. He'll live to fight another day, and he'll be keeping his fingers crossed about who gets the major points on the 3 climbs today.
Base of the climb, the sprinter who is at the front for De Koenig Quickstep. The team is fully committed to the yellow jersey of Julian Alaphilippe. Yesterday he said he thought it would be hard. At the end, he said it was even harder. This is Simon Yates, stage winner into Bagnères de Bigorre. He's followed by Sebastian Reichenbach. Next in line is Rudy Mollard, 2 riders from Group Arma FDJ. The red, Nico Roche. This is Lutsenko in white.
The gap has something wrong with him. Elia Viviani, their sprinter, is still here and looking really comfortable. We're a pure climber, a man who's 2nd overall in the Tour of Spain last year, is out the back. To be illness.
Has to be. Even on a bad day, he would outclimb Viviani.
So that means when the pressure goes on, you would expect most of the riders from De Koenig Quickstep to be dropped, bar Alaphilippe and Dries Devenants.
It means there's going to be some lonely kilometres for Julian Alaphilippe defending the yellow jersey. Andre Amador, followed by Romain Bardet. I do like the character of Romain Bardet. After such a difficult day 24 hours ago, he bounces back immediately and shows himself once again at the front of the Tour. remnants of the breakaway group. Roman Kreuziger is leading. Guy Martin is the yellow helmet that you can see off in the distance. In addition to being a philosopher, he's also a playwright. He's written a stage show which is being performed at the moment in the Avignon Festival, and his mum is the producer of that show. It's Platon versus Platoche, and it's based on the writings of Plato, Aristotle and Socrates. But he has said, first and foremost, I'm a professional cyclist. I don't want to be typecast as this character of the cyclist philosopher. He's a lot more than just a bike rider, isn't he? With a master's in philosophy, and he's a playwright as well. He's got a bit going on, Guy Martin.
Well, he's got a bit going on trying to cross the group in front of him, and they in turn are chasing the front of the race, which is really starting to heat up into single file. Geschke still here, number 114. Nairo Quintana, the best on GC in this group, starting the day 7 minutes and 19 seconds behind the lead of Alaphilippe. Another big acceleration here, and that is Caruso.
He's following
the wheel of Bernard.
Yeah, he's following Julien Bernard. The pink colours, Michael Woods. Number 72, that is Bilbao.
This is a chasing group, not the front group.
Correct. Yeah, this is the second group there, and they're at 26 seconds behind the front of the race. There's Guy Martin just in front of them.
That was the group with Dan Martin in front of him, and they are still behind the lead of the race with Simon Yates. He's already on the march and looking for stage win, number 2.
This is Ciccone. He's had a great tour. Second on the stage, La Planche de Belleville. A couple of days in the yellow jersey. He catches on to the group being led by Simon Yates. This is Dan Martin, followed by Bardet. Kreuziger in third position. In fact, that is not Roman Bardet. That is Tony Galopin that sits behind Dan Martin.
There he is, number 35, Tony Galopin. A very difficult start to this Tour de France. Came in under an injury cloud after a crash in the French Championship. Started the tour all bandaged up on his left-hand side. A few days later, he had another crash. After that, since then, things have been looking up. He's got himself into a couple of breakaways, and he looks to be getting better as this tour goes on, as Nairo Quintana is now having trouble following the wheel.
And he's not looking to be getting better. His teammate Marc Soler dropped back for him yesterday on the Col de Tourmalet. Soler is not waiting today. He's in this group trying to go across to the front and join that contingent of riders with Simon Yates.
You saw Quintana just reach for the radio communication. Soler taking a look back to see where he is. So obviously the word from Nairo was just easy for a second, easy. No way. Soler is trying to power across that gap. You can't wait for Quintana in this situation now.
If he waits for Quintana, they both miss the move.
If he's blowing this early on a Cat 1 climb where the action's only just starting after what happened with him yesterday, Soler's got to push on and see if he can go for a stage win.
Woods is trying to push on. He has got Omar Frale with him from Astana and Guy Martin from Monte Group Goubert. Roman Kreuziger out of the saddle for Dimension Data. They're about to make contact with the group. At the rear of that group is Simon Yates. Roach is there in red, so too is Leonard Kamner. Again, the young German. He's been very good this week. Didn't see much of him in the first week, but in the second week, he's been one of the standouts.
Andre Amador, the man who did most of the riding on the front for Movistar yesterday. And at the moment, he's the best of his team out of this breakaway.
This is Lutsenko, the Kazakhstan national champion.
He made a lot of attempts to get into the break today. It took him about 5 or 6 goes to eventually join this move that was able to get away.
Galopin, number 35. He has made contact. The body language of Dan Martin looks to be paying the price for the effort to close that gap.
Simon Yates, he made that acceleration. He split the group. He made everybody make a big effort to... Seems like he's just been sliding his way to the back, seeing who's here, catching his breath a little bit, but staying in contact with the back of the group. So a little bit of recovery, and I expect him back at the front of the group again. And he's not done with attacking just yet.
The stunning Pyrenees, the final battle for this year's tour, that will be held in the Alps, including the stage from Albertville to Val Thorens. And today they have 16,000 people participating in L'Etape du Tour. You can also do L'Etape du Tour in many countries around the world, including in Australia, where Esteban Chavez and Amanda Spratt will be riding this year. But amongst those participating in L'Etape today in France, Frank Schleck. former stage winner at the Tour de France and a third-place finisher overall in 2011.
The high summer pastures here in the Pyrenees. Relaxed atmosphere if you're just out in the fields. But the pressure coming on both up the front of the race in the breakaway and just starting to build back here in the peloton as well at the moment. De Koning quick step with Casper Asgreen setting the pace. Yves Lampaert still there as well, but the gap opening more and more to the front of the race. But they will also be hearing that Nairo Quintana is in trouble and being dropped out of the group in front. So that will help them to relax somewhat back in the peloton. Looming behind, Team Ineos, Jumbo Visma with Steven Kruijswijk. George Bennett there, just behind him as well. Soler, Lutsenko, Kreuziger, Guillaume Martin.
And all of a sudden, Nairo Quintana is within 2 minutes of the yellow jersey. He's now threatening the position of Geraint Thomas in second place overall.
Michael Woods moving himself up towards the front, so expect him to be going for the King of the Mountain points as well. He showed his hand over the last climb where he got the better of Vincenzo Nibali. This is Pierre-Luc Perichon. He was dropped out of the break and now drifting his way back to the peloton, who, talking of drifting, have now drifted out to 5 minutes and 18 behind the lead.
So in the virtual general classification, Nairo Quintana is in second position.
De Koning quick drawn into using too much energy and too many resources, especially at the moment since they're missing Enric Mas. Maybe hoping he can ride his way back on. I think it looks worse than that. But definitely giving Julien Alaphilippe a fairly easy ride. All the other teams prepared to sit back and just let De Koning quick step do the work. They look at that virtual general classification. Quintana now up to second at 1:57, moved ahead of Thomas Kruijswijk and Bernal. This is what we're talking about. Who does what and when?
Romain Bardet sitting just behind Nairo Quintana. Two riders we often speak about in these sorts of positions in the high mountains in terms of racing at the front, but not from a breakaway that's been given more than 5 minutes. Both of them had tough days yesterday, and they're really fighting back with both legs today. 65 Ks remaining, and it is still the 22-year-old Casper Asgreen with the jersey unzipped at the front. This is Luke Durbridge at the back of the race from Mitchelton Scott. At the back of the main peloton, though, there's still a lot of riders further back behind Durbridge.
Absolutely. But Durbridge, he's in a safe position for getting inside the time cut and live to fight another day. And at the moment, just riding his way into the rest day. This is his teammate, Matteo Trentin.
No doubt they will get together and ride the remainder of the stage in unison, along with a few others that are slowly getting dropped off the back of the group. Steve Cummings still here at the back. These are the best legs we've seen on Steve Cummings throughout the tour for Dimension Data. Good news for Cummings is the green helmet in this breakaway is his teammate Roman Kreuziger.
And now, reminiscent of yesterday, Movistar on the front, but this time in the breakaway, and with a man who at the moment is making a march towards going virtual race leader in the Tour de France, Nairo Quintana.
Tactically, yesterday, Movistar, they executed a plan that their legs couldn't live up to. Today, they've turned it around really quickly. This is strategically even better, and physically, they're performing at the next level.
I would say they carried out a plan that executed their team leader yesterday.
That it did.
But today he's back.
Bardet for points. Bardet for points. Simon Geschke wants a piece of the action. But Romain Bardet now, he wants a spot on the podium in Paris as the winner of the King of the Mountains classification.
Woods wanted to get through and was blocked. He's missed out on some points, just squeaking through this time. He was intent on having them and just couldn't get out from where he was, Michael Woods. The Romain Bardet is intentionally clear. This is Richie Porte. He's been off the back of the main group, but this looks like it rather might have been a nature break or a mechanical. Rather than anything else.
Richie doesn't look particularly stressed and is riding quite well back through that convoy of cars. Richie looks okay. It was a disappointing day yesterday. This is one that he appears to have under control. The rider's from Sudal Lotto. He's reached into the back pocket. He might have gone back to the team car to collect some food. Tishbunu towards the back with him from Sudal Lotto. He's the rider in second last position. There's still a little over a kilometre before they reach the top of the climb. This is Vincenzo Nibali.
He's just going backwards towards the peloton, and there they are. So the man who was so aggressive early on and all day yesterday was paying the price for those efforts. Won't be the last we've seen of him in this Tour de France. I think he'll keep trying, but it just seems that he's running on fumes.
He really does need the rest day. Then to Nîmes after that, followed by Stage de Gap, where perhaps we'll see a bit more of Vincenzo Nibali up towards the front. Nibali now caught. Asgreen still setting the tempo at the front. Alejandro Valverde, the world champion, the rainbow jersey with the yellow helmet on. It's looking pretty good. The 39-year-old is in 9th position overall at 5 minutes and 27 seconds down. Pau Bilbao is in the breakaway for the Astana team. He's one of the riders we caught up with before the start of the stage. We're not too far away from his home region in the Basque Country, just across the border. Here is Paulo Bilbao speaking this morning. Bilbao has already been proven to be correct. A few riders will have a difficult day today. Chiefly amongst them, the earlier victims, Enric Mas, the young Spaniard from De Koenig Quickstep. He's already been distanced by the main peloton. This is Bauke Mollema from Trek Segafredo, just in front of Michael Matthews. He said, I wanted to hurt the others.
Well, he did. He absolutely did, and that's what you've got to want to do. You've got to go into it like it is a fight. That was a great ride as well. The peloton and the break both can now enjoy around 16 kilometres of descending down off this Category 1 climb, and the next one that comes up, it's a double up in a way. It goes from one straight onto the other. The lower slope is called the Col de Caunu, but the main Category 1 climb that's next, the Mur de Péguerre, 9.3 kilometres at an average of 8%. It's shorter than the last one, but steeper. And Mur says it all. French for wall.
And look at the numbers in the last few kilometres. It goes from gentle at the bottom, from blue into red, a little bit of respite in the middle, and then at the top, gradients of 18%.
So that first part, the Col de Caunu, after they get past that section, after 6 kilometres of climbing, it's the next 3.5, which is the actual Mur de Péguerre. That 3 kilometre section is all, well, I'd say the average is 12.5%. But with those steep sections, like you said, it'll be through the corners, 18, 19%.
Niels Pollitt now being caught by the main peloton.
I think it'll serve to break up the front group. The peloton, however, still a big question mark, isn't it? Who is going to do the chasing? Who's going to get nervous about Quintana having a 5-minute lead at this point in the race when they still have a long descent off the top of the next climb all the way to the foot of the Prat d'Albi? Because when they crest the Mur de Péguerre after 147 kilometres of racing, they have 28 kilometres to the foot of the final climb.
Yeah, and it continues. It's the cycling standoff between De Koenig Quickstep and the rivals of Julian Alaphilippe. Ineos, they continue to wait patiently. Yesterday we expected a little more, well I certainly did, of Geraint Thomas, but he is hoping that that's his one bad day behind him, and he wants to get himself back into contention. I don't think today is a day where Geraint Thomas can take time back on Julian Alaphilippe, and it's just funny that that's the shift in the language, not about can Alaphilippe defend, but can the others take time on him. Based on what we've heard about the final climb today, it doesn't sound like it's the one that really suits Geraint Thomas. So if he is good on the climb today, then he's back and he will be a contender once we hit the Alps. This is still a race of great intrigue. This is the deepest we've been in the dark as to who's going to win the race for the last perhaps 10 years or so. Maybe even more. Great edition of the tour. Koenig Quickstep taking a few more risks on the descent. They've closed it back down now. It's just a little over 5 minutes.
Well, looking at that final climb, it's not as brutal as the climb yesterday up to the Tourmalet. It's not as long, it's not as steep, it's not at the same altitudes. The altitude at the top of the final climb, 1,205 metres. It's an 11.8 kilometre climb as opposed to 9.7%, but the steeper sections are... And just the last kilometre is only at an average of 3%. A little flat piece through to the line. It's going to be easier for the favourites to all stay together on the final climb today. I don't see a lot of changes happening amongst them.
But I didn't anticipate Enric this climb either.
That is also true. And what Pio Bilbao is, we have got a problem.
This is Woods. He's trying to get something out of his front wheel, which is always extremely dangerous. He's putting his weight to his back seat, and it's really rattling the bike at this point. He's always a nervous rider to watch on descents.
He is. It looked precarious from Woods. And I'm not sure if it was possibly a gear problem or he wanted a bit more adjustment in the brakes. Sometimes you see the riders on the uphill, they'll flick a quick release, totally release the brakes out, so any flex in the wheel won't touch the brake pads. As much a psychological thing as anything else. Sometimes you'll hear just the very faintest touch when out of the saddle, and on these climbing bikes, so light, really, the lightest wheels, things flex a little bit, sometimes just brush ever so slightly. But he was looking like he was trying to adjust something there, still looking down.
He's still really concerned about it. Former 3,000 metre record holder as a runner in Canada. He's done a sub 4 minute mile. He's managed to run 3:56 or 54. I can't quite remember what it is, but he was the record holder, at least at the time, in Canada. He did an interview with Inside Business early in the Tour de France on around about stage 2 or 3, and he said riding a race like the Tour de France, it makes you a better bike rider but a worse person. Tempers get frayed, you don't do a whole lot other than ride your bike, quite obviously, and you live in a bubble. You're oblivious to everything else that is happening around the world. Doesn't look at ease at all on the bike at the moment here, Michael Woods. The Movistar team, though, they are taking command of this breakaway. This is Marc Soler at the front, followed then by Andre Amador. In third position is Nairo Quintana, who's worked his way back up towards second place in the overall standings. Simon Yates is behind him. Romain Bardet is in this group. Let's take a look at the climb. And this is what we spoke about. It starts okay. Then eventually goes to black.
Yep, that blue colour, they are the lower gradients. There you have it, 6.5%. Then it goes into the red, an easier section in green, so a chance to ease off, catch your breath in that red zone, and turns to black track, 13, 18, 16%, and a long section that black continues to the top of the wall of Péguer.
It doesn't fade to black, it rises to black. It is a brutal climb right at the end. That's where it's at its toughest. The good news for a lot of the riders in the race today is the altitude's not super high. 1,300 metres by comparison to the more than 2,000 yesterday. Oxygen density shouldn't be too much of a problem. The yellow jersey so far, Julian Alaphilippe, just simply looks like he's enjoying himself. He still has 3 teammates with him. Dries Devenant is there, so too is Casper Asgreen. Just want to get a little bit closer to confirm the other one. We would have anticipated Enric Mas, but he got dropped earlier on.
Up the front, the attention turns to nutrition, hydration, recovery, because the next climb is really tough.
They're just a couple of kilometres away from hitting the base of that climb. This is the philosopher and the playwright, Guillaume Martin, number 191.
We talk often about eating and drinking. It's important. Do it often. Do it when you can. There are very few opportunities now on this stage. You're either going up a Category 1 climb or down a tricky descent like this one, uneven, off camber, through the shadows, blind corners. Pretty difficult to reach into your pocket.
So there's physical stress on the way up, psychological stress on the way down. This is the experienced Nico Roach coming to the front. The hand signal out, letting everybody know, left-hand turn about to come.
You got to leave your manners out of it. It's hand in back pocket, grab something, stuff it in your mouth, and chew with cheeks like a chipmunk to just get it in while you can. Because don't forget, this is a 187 kilometre stage. It's been incredibly fast from the get-go. So it's not like you can just roll along and keep fueling up at your ease.
So the leading group with Romain Bardet, they went over the Porte de l'Aise at 21 kilometres per hour. The De Koenig Quickstep-led peloton with Julian Alaphilippe, 19.7. Is that a little bit of rain on the lens? It is.
Well, it did rain in this area last night, and we said it was very humid and can always blow in.
It's not a little bit of rain, that's a lot of rain now where the peloton is. This makes it dangerous, and you get the sense that perhaps Julian Alaphilippe, he would like the rain. He doesn't mind dangerous on the way down. He could put some of his rivals under pressure whilst descending.
He definitely can. Not sure he would like to do that right at this moment, but it's certainly not going to bother him or hinder his chances. And then very quickly, they're out from under that rain shower.
The average speed, thanks to the descent, has gone back up to almost 42 kilometres per hour.
So just a very short section. And
that is Viviani.
Microclimates here in the Pyrenees. Viviani, what a job he is doing today for the team, the sprinter.
Viviani left Team Sky / Ineos because he didn't want to be on a team with somebody racing to try and win the Tour de France overall. He wanted to be able to come to the race to try and win some stages. Well, he's won a stage. Now he is supporting the defence of yellow. Remnants of the breakaway group. It is Anthony Perez of the Cofidis team about to be caught. It's tension on the brakes in the wet.
You've always just got to hold your breath a little bit when the peloton is descending and it just starts to rain. When it hasn't rained here for a while, it rained a little bit overnight in Toulouse where we were. Signs of a little bit of rain on the way down here, but when we arrived in Foix, it was completely dry. This could be the first time it's rained in a couple of weeks. Then the roads can just get that little bit of greasiness. So although Julian Alaphilippe is a very good descender, as are the men in front of him, he's got to be a little bit cautious, but it looks now like they are back onto dry road. So a really isolated shower through that section.
And it's humid here in Foix at the base of the final climb.
I'm looking outside. The sun is almost breaking through as we look out our back window. They're back into the sun. See the riders' shadows on the roads. So they're back into those nice conditions, but very, very hot. And with that rain that we just had, you can imagine how humid it is out there as well.
The climb now starts of the Neur de Pigueur. This is a 9.3 kilometre climb. The steepest pinches, they come right at the very top with gradients up to 18%. 10 minutes back to the green jersey group. This is Roach. Once you crack on this climb, it comes to a grinding halt really, really quick.
I don't think he needs to signal to say, pass me on that side. You can just come past.
It was pretty obvious. De Plus still at the front, followed by Kruijswijk. Yates now attacks. It's climbers in the mist as they head through the Pyrenees.
Well, Yates here already showed a sign on the climb before. He was the man that made the first acceleration that really split the group up. He's got Geschke off the front. He says now it's time to go across and join him. Whittle it down to a smaller group that I can deal with. And with just 3 minutes lead, still a long way to go. Descent, Long Valley Road. He knows he needs to get on with it now.
There is a decent valley road between the top of this climb and into Foix. It's predominantly downhill though, but
it's 26 kilometres.
It's a long way. Yeah, I'm looking for positives for the breakaway, trying to give them a chance, and they are a chance, particularly riders of the calibre of Simon Geschke and Simon Yates, who is trying to come across on his own.
26 kilometres from the top of this climb to the foot of the last one. Most of it nice, fairly steep descending, but there is a 11 11-kilometre section where you could really use that team time trial effect working together.
They're clearing out the vehicles.
Well, where are they going to put the red one?
Between Geschke and the chase behind.
They're already driving 2 wheels onto the grass, getting ready for Yates to pass them and get onto the wheel of Geschke.
Kemner at the back. In front of him with the yellow helmet is Martin. The pink colours of Michael Woods. Kreuziger, Galopin, that's Dan Martin. We bridge across the easy way. Nairo Quintana is here. Reichenbach in the red. Bardet and Martin. The climbing cream is rising to the top.
Well, the attack of Simon Yates, it has splintered that group completely. He has now halved the gap that was there between himself and Simon Geschke. Geschke, he's able to go through the corner, look back, a smile from one of his former soigneurs when it was Team Sunweb. They know each other well, and he'll be hoping that his former colleague in the same team can put in a good result, and then he turns his attention to looking for Kemner.
When he changed teams, as that Sunweb team under various sponsors is the only other team he's ever ridden for, and he was with them for 12 seasons. Still Deplouse at the front for Jumbo-Visma. Fabio Aru fighting to hold on at the back. Richie Porte is looking better today. This is Omar Freley from the break, now being caught by Mikel Landa, who was launched out of the peloton. Incidentally, Landa started the day 11th, 6:14 behind.
Landa past Freley. Freley will be surprised if he can hang on all the way up.
The main time losses for Mikel Landa came on stage 10 in the crosswind when he was involved in a crash. He was in the front group.
And yesterday he was very good. We thought it was for Quintana, but Landa was their best finisher.
6th position on the stage yesterday for Landa. Bardet now responding. Oh, this is a show of character. Not just physical strength, but a show of character for Bardet.
And when they get over the top of this climb, I would expect Romain Bardet, with his descending skills, to ride his way back on. As Geschke, he takes the major points across the top of the Mur de Péguerre, quickly followed by Simon Yates. He rides himself into the wheel, and then it's that small chasing group led by Bardet.
Bardet. He collects more points for the polka dots, but it's the stage that he is primarily focused on, surely. Lutsenko is the next, then Reichenbach, then it is Nairo Quintana. We always thought we'd be talking about Bardet, Martin, and also Quintana, but it's in a different situation. Soler, the ultimate workhorse, he's now been caught by Landa, and it's full throttle.
Important moment would be even better for Landa if he caught Soler closer to the top. And it may just be the case that Soler has done all that he can, unless he's just sat, rested, freshened up to make sure he can get all through this final kilometre with Mikel Landa, and then two together can really make an impression off the descent and down the valley road.
And I think Soler can do that. I think they'll be together over the top, because he will need, Mikel Landa that is, he will need Marc Soler on the other side of this climb.
We saw Movistar do this often last year in the Tour de France. Riders up in the break, then wait, someone attack out of the group of the favourites, come across, get together and work. Soler did it with Valverde last year on the road to La Rosière. It didn't work out in the end, but they kept trying the right tactic.
This is
One
the
day
attack.
it's going to work out.
This is the attack of Mikel Landa.
Look on these steep slopes, up to 18%. Full effort, 13, 14 kilometres an hour. That's on a flat stage that would carry you up to around 60 kilometres an hour.
Tells the story of the gradients, because when you talk about percentages, it never does it justice. But when you see a guy the calibre of Mikel Landa attacking all the way up to 16 kilometres per hour, you know it is frightfully steep. Freley now on the radio. An update perhaps for Lutsenko as to what's happening in the remnants of the peloton. It's not the peloton anymore. This is simply the yellow jersey group. It's being led by Laurens Deplouse of Jumbo-Visma. Soler and Landa over the top together at 2:14, but their advantage is just over 20 seconds on the yellow jersey group of Alaphilippe.
And Alaphilippe still riding at the front of the group on the wheel of Steven Kruijswijk.
And it is pouring with rain at the finish line, we've just been told.
Well, it could be that same weather system that we saw just earlier on the last descent that hit the riders. It's moving across the finish line at the moment. But here where the riders find themselves is up high in the mist as George Bennett. He's managed to hang on the back of this group. That will be very handy for Stephen Kruijswijk to have the Kiwi still in the group.
Looked like he was suffering. To be at the back of the group, it looked like Bennett was suffering. He likes to be at the front. He likes being Stephen Kruijswijk's bodyguard in the mountains.
Well, he gets a chance now to get his breath back, get some lactic acid out of the legs. He's going to have to take some risks on this downhill. It will be very fast. And I even wonder if this is possibly a place where Julien Alaphilippe may just take matters into his own hands for a while. It's not like he's doing a pedalling turn on the front, but if he just lets it flow through the corners, well, he is likely to catch a few off guard.
Bardet showing his frustration.
Irritated, narrow Quintana.
No, I'm not sure it was Quintana. I think it was for Reichenbach in the red colours from Group Armour FDJ, who's just sitting on the back.
It is. Quintana still prepared to work. I was wondering if maybe Quintana was hearing Landa is coming. Wouldn't it be better if we all came together? Even though it's still a 2-minute 37 gap.
I think it's too big, that gap for Quintana to wait. But
in fact, it's only 2:08, not 2.5. But 2 minutes is too much for him to wait. It's Reichenbach, the man who's sitting on.
The conversation is still happening. Bardet is having some stern words for Reichenbach, but Robbie,
team orders.
He's within his rights to do that. He's riding for a man that is back in the yellow jersey group who won yesterday's stage, Thibaut Pinot.
And will be under instruction, do not ride with narrow Quintana, because he is now ahead of Thibaut Pinot. We're at the moment 2.5 minutes. Which way has it swung?
And a narrow Quintana, and one way to stay out of trouble, go to the front.
So he says, I'm not going to ride in your wheel. I'm happy to do it a little bit more the front.
Amador Soler working for Landa.
Amador is a very good descender.
Indeed.
He's up there with Bardet, Alaphilippe and Peter Sagan. He is really strong downhill, skills-wise.
As a team, Movistar came in for the most criticism yesterday. As a team today, they should be coming in for the most praise. They have ridden this brilliantly.
Well, they're going into these stages with a plan and going into execute it. Yesterday looked to be going just the way they wanted it, but then narrow Quintana was dropped. Landa, however, had a good finish in 6th on top of the Tourmalet, and now they're putting some real pressure on, but not so much on the yellow jersey because it's other teams doing the work behind.
Jumbo-Visma doing the chasing. Their team leader, Stephen Kruijswijk, he sits in 3rd place overall. He's 2:14 down, which has him at 12 seconds behind the defending champion, Geraint Thomas. And you know who we haven't spoken about much again today? We've mentioned him as an unsung hero, but he's just sitting there quietly, minding his own business. Emmanuel Bookman, 5th overall at 3:12. Don't worry about me, boys. You go about your business. I'll just try and sneak onto the podium in Paris.
You can't even see me. I'm under the radar, catching some of the remnants of the break now. Amador, Soler,
Ciccone.
Landa.
This is Ciccone, 133. Get on the train.
And along with him from Team Cofidis, number 154 is Jesus Herrera. Back to the front of the race. Yates, look over the shoulder, over the top of Simon Geschke. Back onto the pedals, not quite as steep anymore. The speed still very high. Winding their way down off the Muda Peguer. Long valley road coming up in front of them as well, and they get off the main descent.
It's Bardet and Quintana who are the quickest of this group on the way down.
Bardet will be hoping that he can distance Reichenbach, and there's no passenger in this group. He says, I'm not allowed to ride here. Quintana's Thibaut Pinot, so I'm going to sit on and not make a contribution. But if you can drag me all the way to the bottom of the final climb and my legs are a bit fresher, just quietly, I've got the go-ahead to go for the stage win.
As an indication as to how good a climber Reichenbach is, he was 14th in the Tour de France in 2016, 17th in the Giro d'Italia the year after. You're a very good climber finishing in the top 20 at the Tour de France or the Giro d'Italia.
Okay, so maybe I didn't come first in the race.
There he is at the back in the red colours.
So maybe I didn't come first in the race.
Has a look behind.
I did get a new record.
Where the rest of the chasers are.
That was
Back up to the front
16:27.
now with Geschke and Yates.
Okay,
The
so
German and
I'm
the Brit.
happy enough with that.
No
I
threats to
raced
general
with
classification.
Julie yesterday as well on the climb. She's a strong climber.
Bardet, we've spoken about his
So I knew I would have trouble
out to
staying
43
with her
seconds.
because she
Whenever they've got onto a
caught up to
part
me
of
on
the
yesterday's
descent
hill.
that's not as steep and not
in
as
Borneo.
winding, look at the effort they're putting in, how hard they're pedalling. One's
So,
pedalling flat out in the front, the other one's aero.
and also this race as well, as a bit of a gearing problem as around the 8k mark.
Where these guys here
Which is
are
why
not
I
doing
stopped
as
for a
much.
moment.
It's not
working now.
He is, but it's not giving
And then
absolutely
later
everything.
on,
The next turn from Lysenko, he may come over the top and pedal through. It's
13,
not with the
14k or
intensity
so.
of the two
The
off the
actual
front.
And Landa
rider
has moved
stopped
out
moving.
to
So I've probably lost about
40
maybe
seconds.
45
seconds in
seconds or
front of the
so.
yellow jersey group.
Well, he's being
Maybe.
chased now by George Bennett,
But
who is the
it
man
was still a
on the
good race,
front.
and I was able to push the
Bennett,
power
not
down
a
at the very
noted
end as
descender.
well.
He's an incredible climber,
So
but he
I'm
has come
happy
under
enough with
pressure.
that.